configured our technology and it's ready for deployment. We have also received the ballot boxes, the ballot papers for this by-election, which have already been dispatched to our warehouses in Nyandarua County. Yesterday, we completed the training of all the election officials. So our officers are properly trained and they are ready to conduct elections as per the regulations. Of more importance is the issue of the voters register. We have certified the register that will be used in Ol Kalou. That is the voters register. And this register is currently displayed at every polling station so that the citizens of Ol Kalou can verify and check if their names are there and if they are eligible to vote in the respective polling stations. As a commission, we continue working with our partners to offer voter education to the voters of Ol Kalou so that they understand how to exercise their rights. And we continue with stakeholder engagement up to tomorrow, where our team of commissioners will also be in Ol Kalou to meet with stakeholders, to meet with the candidates and their agents so that we agree on the final rules. The Commission reminds all stakeholders that the campaign has officially ended yesterday on Monday, 13th of July 2026 at 6 p.m. in line with the gazetted election timelines. And therefore, we request that any form of campaigning or engagement of voters after that time has ended is prohibited. And anybody engaged in further campaigns contrary to the laws is committing an electoral offense and is in breach of the Electoral Code of Conduct. And as a result, if we find anybody who is engaging in campaigns beyond the gazetted timeline, that person will face the consequences. In terms of the polling day activities, we wish to remind the people of Ol Kalou that all the registered voters in Ol Kalou constituency, they must turn up with their national ID cards that are valid. And for the case of the passport, they must verify and confirm that their passport is valid, it has not expired, because these are the primary documents that will be used to identify each of the eligible voter, each of the voter who is in our digital register. In terms of identification, the actual identification of the voters during that day, from morning when we open the polling stations, once you show up with your ID or your passport that is valid, we shall use the biometric means to identify and authenticate those voters. Biometric means your fingerprints or your facial features, which we have captured in our database, because the register we are using will be the digital register that is integrated in our KIMS kit. As required by law, we have gazetted the register for Ol Kalou constituency. And that register, I wish to assure the people of Ol Kalou and indeed Kenyans that that register is secure. And we certify that register on 5th of June 2026. So the register is published in the Kenya Gazette. It is a public document. You can access it there. And for those of you who are in Ol Kalou, the register is already displayed in each of the polling stations where you'll be voting. So we have several copies that have been printed already and dispatched to those polling stations. And the law requires we do this 7 days before the election. So we have complied with the law. So anybody who claims that the register has been manipulated is spreading false, misleading, and unsupported rumors. So we urge the citizens to ignore any such persons, be they politicians or activists or any other representative of anybody in this republic. As IBC, we take the issue of the register seriously, and we make sure that it's only the authentic register that is being used during these elections. That, of course, goes to also the issue of identity cards. We heard through a section of the media, and we have investigated this matter, where certain politician has urged the citizens of Ol Kalou not to show up with their IDs or their passports. That is completely misleading, and that matter the Commission is dealing with it decisively. Opening and closing of the polling stations. Ladies and gentlemen, again, as per the law and our regulations, the polling stations open at 6 a.m. and they close at 5 p.m. And therefore, any station that for one reason or another that is justifiable is not open by 6 and there's a delay, we shall compensate that time which is lost and ensure that those people who turn up and who remain at the polling stations as late as 5 p.m. and they are on the queue, they will be granted the opportunity to continue to exercise their right to elect their member of parliament. So we shall not bar anybody who comes late, as long as you are at the polling station by 5 p.m. latest, in the evening, that is. So anybody who comes past 5 p.m. will not be allowed to join the queue in order to vote. So all those people who are eligible must come between 6 when we open and 5 p.m. when we close. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, and indeed fellow Kenyans, the use of mobile phones in the polling booth is prohibited. You heard some time back when we conducted the elections in other electoral areas, we saw one individual had taken a picture of their ballot paper after voting. They took pictures of the marked ballots and circulated it on the internet. We wish to remind Kenyans and indeed the voters of Ol Kalou that please do not take a picture of your ballot paper once you mark it, once you select the person you want to be your member of parliament. This is because the sanctity and the secrecy of the vote requires that you keep it secret. That's why it's very, very important that we facilitate you to vote by way of secret ballot. So it will defeat the purpose if you again make that ballot public. And it is against Section 7 of the Election Offences Act. You shall actually be prosecuted. And if you are found guilty, you will pay a fine a fine of up to 1 million Kenya shillings. So we need to secure the elections, to ensure that there's peace, there's tranquility, and the voters of Ol Kalou exercise their rights peacefully to elect their leaders. So as a commission, I would like to thank the close collaboration we've had with the National Police, with other commissions present here, including National Cohesion and Integration Commission, to ensure that we make all the necessary arrangements, including security, so that the by-election in Ol Kalou succeeds. So I'll allow IG later on to speak on the security arrangements in place. But we, as a commission, would also like to note that with concern that there have been incidences that have raised a red flag and concerns to us as a commission as we carry out our mandate to facilitate Kenyans to elect their elected representatives. We've seen situations where, in some cases, goons are present in our electoral areas, are mobilized to intimidate and to disrupt the peaceful campaigns and the peaceful business of the people in those affected electoral areas. Ol Kalou has not been spared either. There are those reports of incidences of goons roaming around, and of course facilitated by some of the actors or players. We wish to call upon all those people, political parties, the candidates themselves and their political supporters, to refrain from any acts that will constitute violence and breach of the electoral code of conduct. Because we want this election in Ol Kalou to be the most peaceful and the most successful, that is conducted in an atmosphere that will allow a credible, free, fair, and transparent elections to happen in Ol Kalou. The code of conduct, ladies and gentlemen, will continue to be enforced. As you have seen, in the last few days, we have summoned some of those politicians who have been accused of engaging in some electoral malpractices. We have taken action on some of them, including fining some of them and requesting them to again sign the political decency code with us. Other cases are ongoing, and we will be updating the nation on what actions we are taking. So the Election Code of Conduct Committee is still in place. It will work until after the election has been concluded and the results announced. So any breaches of the Electoral Code of Conduct, we urge the public to report to the Commission so that we take firm and stern action against those perpetrators. So, as I conclude, in terms of results management and declaration, after the close of the polling stations at 5 p.m., all the presiding officers will commence the process of counting the vote in front and in full view of agents, observers, and the media. I believe you'll be there as members of the fourth estate to observe what's happening and to report. This counting will be done. The ballot boxes will be opened, the ballot papers will be counted, and the results tabulated at each of the polling stations in an open and transparent process. And to enhance transparency, the agents present will be allowed to take photographs of official result form 34A. Let us distinguish what I said before. Your ballot paper, the one you mark as a voter, that is sacred, and it's secret. I've said sacred, and it's also secret. So that is the document that we do not want anybody to take pictures of and circulate. But where we tabulate and record the results, that is from 34A, agents can take pictures and send to their candidates or their political parties. A copy of the result form, that same from 34A, a carbonated copy, will also be pasted at each of the polling stations. Whether it's in a classroom, it will be pasted on the door of that classroom for everybody to see, because there's nothing we are hiding. It will be as transparent as that. Returning officers will thereafter receive the results, that is at the constituency tallying center. They will verify, collate, and announce the constituency level results. So I know results will be known mostly by the party agents and the political parties. But please do not declare yourself the winner or your candidate. It is only the authorized officer, in this case for Ol Kalou, the returning officer, who will declare the winner in the presence of agents and accredited observers. So as I conclude, in fact, on the issue of the results, members of the public and the media as well, you can access the results in our public portal, which will be accessible to the public. You will click as we upload the results online. You can be able to follow the results and tabulate for yourself, so that you know that what we are doing is a transparent, accountable, free and fair election. that will meet the highest standards of credibility. A call to action as I conclude. The Commission calls upon all polling officials in Ol Kalou to discharge their duties with integrity, impartiality, and full adherence to the Code of Conduct. And we are also telling you that we do not spare our officers who engage in any misconduct, who commit any election offense. Such officers will be arrested, investigated, and prosecuted. So the law is very clear even to ourselves as officials that conduct these elections. Further, we urge all stakeholders, including political parties, candidates, agents, the media, and respective voters, to respect the law, uphold peace before, during, and after the polling, and refrain from any actions that may compromise the secrecy or integrity of the vote. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are my remarks and a briefing to the nation, and particularly to the people of Ol Kalou. And I thank you for
Chair. I'll just go straight to the message that we have from the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. Fellow Kenyans, I speak to you today with a sense of urgency. The National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, has with growing concern been monitoring a disturbing escalation in political rhetoric characterized by ethnic profiling, inflammatory utterances, incitement, and language that demeans, threatens, and dehumanizes fellow Kenyans on account of their ethnicity, political affiliation, or region. These developments, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Kenyans, threaten to undo the hard-won peace and unity that Kenyans have painstakingly built over time. As the country moves into an increasingly charged political season, the Commission notes with alarm the disruption of political and public gatherings, attacks on citizens and leaders on account of divergent opinion, and the deliberate use of coded and overt language intended to stir up ethnic hostility. Left unaddressed, such conduct carries the real risk of igniting violence, displacement, and loss of life, as this nation has painfully experienced before. This is not normal politics. It is conduct that the law calls hate speech and ethnic contempt, and it carries real criminal consequences, including fines of up to 1 million shillings and jail terms of up to 5 years. The Commission is watching, and where the law is broken, we will act without fear or favor, regardless of who is involved. Kenya's diversity is a source of strength, not division. The Commission appeals to our leaders at every level and every sector. Your words carry weight. Use them to unite, not to divide. No cause, no campaign is worth a Kenyan's blood. We appeal to every Kenyan to refuse to be incited into division, reject politics of hatred and rhetoric of contempt, and embrace dialogue, tolerance, and coexistence as a foundation of our shared future. Do not let anyone use you to attack your neighbor because of their community or their politics. It is incumbent, therefore, upon each one of us, fellow Kenyans, to actively promote peace within our spheres of influence. The Commission remains committed to working with other constitutional commissions, independent offices, the National Police Service, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the judiciary, political parties, faith-based organizations, the media, civil society, and all Kenyans of goodwill to safeguard the peace, unity, and cohesion of our nation. We are a unique nation with all the communities that must coexist as we have done before. Therefore, let us embrace civility and disagree, compete, and speak without destroying, dehumanizing, or inciting one another. Kenya deserves better than the politics of hatred. Let us choose peace. Let us choose one Kenya, one people, with one shared destiny. Thank you very much.
Thank you. IPOA. Thank you very much. My name is Commissioner Ken Williams Nyakomita from IPOA. Ideally, on the previous occasions, we've witnessed and seen a lot of challenges in terms of restraint by the officers when it comes to either public order. And as an authority, we are very keen in terms of ensuring that our officers actually work in adherence to the law. But also to the public, we also have to actually ensure that we also support the police, because ideally the key role or the main role of the police officer is very clear: protection of life and also on property. But if you don't give them this particular support, then we'll actually have a lot of challenges. We don't want incidences whereby IPOA is called upon to either investigate or follow up cases which actually arise either by malpractices. But we are sure that our officers have been on the ground and they've been actually monitoring, and also on the same day, the officers will actually be on the ground just to ensure that there's also a force that is actually, there's no excesses that is used, but also the officers have also been communicated, and also we've had an engagement with also the police to ensure that the officers will be deployed also deliver as per their mandate. So what we are requesting even to the media, that let us ensure that also we unearth the malpractices that are coming on board that may also interfere with the officers, so that we don't actually be in a situation whereby we see the officers are being either being fight or being stoned or being fought. We've seen whereby a situation whereby officers are actually end up being injured in such situation. We are not looking forward for such incidents. But as an authority, we assure the public that we'll be on board to ensure that each and every incident, if at all there will be there, which you're not praying for, are captured and also reported. And also the public can also report these particular incidents to our authority through our free toll-free, that is the 1559, and act on them so that they don't actually take law into their hands. Thank you.
EACC, 2 minutes.
My name is Vincent Okongo, Director Preventive Services of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. I would like to say that yesterday the chairperson of the EACC, together with the CEO, addressed this issue of voter bribery very clearly, and sent a very strong message to those who are engaged in this particular malpractice, that when they are found out, they will be investigated and booked and taken to court accordingly. So mine is to reaffirm our commitment as a commission to ensure that we will work within the multi-agency framework that has been set up to ensure that any form of voter bribery, or for that matter, any unethical practices, are not what I would say, that any unethical practices is not entertained whatsoever. And therefore, we want to appeal to Kenyans, members of the press, and anybody of goodwill in this country to ensure that you report any form of corruption to EACC through this toll number 1551. Please report to us and we'll take appropriate action as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Finally, IG.
Thank you very much, the Chair, IEBC, all the IEBC commissioners, all the stakeholders present with us here this afternoon, the members of the Fourth Estate, ladies and gentlemen, Let me take this opportunity first and foremost to thank the IEBC chairman and his team for organizing this event. It's a timely opportunity to speak to the people of Ol Kalou and the nation at large, and update all the security on the security preparedness for the Ol Kalou by-election scheduled to take place on Thursday, 16th July 2026. This briefing speaks loudly to the multi-agency approach, the one government approach that continues to define and serve us very well. The National Police Service, which is to update Kenyans on the exercise before us, as the Inspector General of the National Police Service, mine is a message of reassurance and an affirmation that the people of Ol Kalou are expected to exercise their democratic rights in a free, fair, peaceful, secure, and credible manner, as guided by our Constitution and the laws of the land. May I now briefly speak specifically about the security preparedness for this by-election. Firstly, we have over 1,000 police officers deployed to ensure that the by-election is adequately covered. Number two, to break it down further, the 114 polling stations in Ol Kalou have adequately deployed with police officers going by the standard deployment procedures. This means that we have a minimum of 2 police officers per every polling station. Their work shall be to safeguard the voting materials, the voting process itself, while offering adequate security at each and every polling station, ensuring the electoral officials perform their duties well and unhindered. Additionally, there are riot standby teams deployed at all polling stations. They comprise of not less than 14 officers at each and every polling station to ensure steadfast and robust security coverage. Further to this, there are specialized teams that have been deployed to give an overall and unbreachable security ring as follows. I have deployed 4 platoons of the General Service Unit officers. I have deployed 4 platoons of anti-stock theft unit officers. I've also deployed 4 water cannons. Sufficient deployment from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, whose mandate shall focus on intelligence gathering, investigations, arrest, and prosecution of any party or individual or individuals involved in any electoral malpractice. Finally, I reiterate that the National Police Service shall remain steadfast during the by-election process, ensuring that a guaranteed safety, security exercise is carried out where the people of Ol Kalou have a chance to exercise their democratic rights in the best way possible and in an environment of peace and security. And to our young people, my message to you is that do not allow yourselves to be misused by anyone to disrupt the voting process in Ol Kalou. As I have said, the National Police Service will be there, we will be present, and we will not allow any form of disruption. So anyone who is intending or who is for that direction of interfering with the electoral process, we will not allow. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, washaamua kwamba hawatojibu maswali. Unavyojua uwezo uko kwingine kaka. Asanteni. Tuyeni radhi. Asanteni. Thank you.